Hey, what it do, y'all? Welcome back to the Fandom Frequency Show. This is episode 7. It's the first solo one I've done here on the channel. So if you're checking us out for the first time, click that subscribe, click the like. It's only going to help the channel and make you feel good that you're supporting some good old local pop culture fandom geekiness, whatever you want to call it, man. We got some great topics to get into today, guys. As you see on the thumbnail, the main ones, Uncharted and the latest Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Netflix. But before we get into all that, it's time for some of that. What's the word? Y'all know what that's all about if you've been here and checked out the show before. But if this is your first time, let me explain it to you. It's where we break down all the pop culture news, topics, announcements, trailers, all that good jazz, whatever the case is, release dates, casting news. We talk about all of that during this segment. And today, we got some pretty cool topics to get into, man. And just making sure I stay on track here. Got my notes. Yo, so starting off, we got a lot of great tours coming up in the world of music, man. All different genres. This one's a little more rock focused, but I'm gonna mention a couple hip hop events that I do know about going off the top of my head here. And man, we got so many great acts going on the road, man. You got some of my all-time favorites as well. You got legends like Paul McCartney going back on the Got Back tour or something like that. And you know those tickets are going to be hella pricey. Check that Ticketmaster or whatever. But woo, my boy Paul McCartney's back on the road. Man, I need to get some of them MFTs or something, bro. I need to get on that, man. I tell you. But whatever, man. Now, don't think I'm going to be able to make it to that one. And you got another classic legendary band going on the road as well. I'm not as big of fans of them per se, but The Who is going back on the road as well, which is pretty cool, man. You know what I'm saying? Them being from the time that they're from, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people in my generation probably think and thought that they would never get the chance to really see these guys. So I think that's really, really awesome overall that, you know, the Who fans from the last couple generations that never really got a chance to see them in their prime during those days, you know, when they're making all the hits. Now they get their chance, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's really dope, man. And you got a lot of modern and somewhat kind of classic acts as well, man. Rage Against the Machine, you know, they rescheduled their 2022 tour till 2023. And starting in March, man, they're going to be right here in Cali, Banc of California Stadium or something like that. Your boy, I think, is going to be going. We'll see what's up. I'll keep y'all posted when I get those tickets for sure, man. And I hope some of y'all that are watching this end up being there as well. But I'm hoping within the next couple months, your boy could get those Rage tickets, man. I have loved Rage ever since I was 5 or 6 years old and heard Guerrilla Radio on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, man. Christmas morning, young me, man, playing it on the PlayStation 1, man. So I have so much love for Rage. They have been one of my all-time favorite bands for most of my life. So I love these guys. So I'm definitely going to make it a high priority and be on ultimate grind mode to try to make that happen, man. But you also got the Foo Fighters going on tour, Nine Inch Nails, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Silk Sonic. You got the Smokers Club tour coming up in April as well, April 30th, I believe. Might try to swing that as well. So you got a lot of great tours coming up. But one of the main bands that's going to be on the road once again, that's actually a very modern band that I didn't think I was going to get the chance to see and thought I missed the boat. My Chemical Romance, dude, they are back on the road in full effect this year. They're playing Aftershock Festival, When We Were Young Fest. They're doing their own shows like at the Forum, which is where I'm already got tickets for October 15th, I believe. Oh no, maybe October 14th, I think. Yeah, October 14th. I think that's the same day Halloween Ends drops. I'm gonna go be seeing My Chem. That's for show, man. And I'm hoping I can go to Afterfest or Aftershock Festival. A lot of great acts going on there as well. Kiss, My Chem. Man, you got so many great acts, dude. I'm like blanking right now though. Lamb of God, Slipknot, just so many acts, man. And there's just so many great shows going on throughout the year, man. So you guys need to make sure that you don't miss out on all these great shows and tours coming up. Let me know in the comments section below, which one are you looking forward to the most? Like I said, for me right now, it is definitely My Chem. Rage is right there as well. And if I had the feds for it, you know what I mean? Paul McCartney would definitely be up there as well. Red Hot Chili Peppers, I kind of missed out on good tickets for the shows that were in the local area that I was trying to go to initially. So I don't think I'm going to get to catch them this year. But they got the new album dropping, so I'll be checking that out. And hopefully the boys stay on the road for a while and hit Cali again this year or next year. I'll definitely make it a priority to see those guys. Foo Fighters, I have a pretty decent amount of interest in as well, which is another reason for Aftershock in October. I'm trying to go as well because Foo Fighters are going to be there. You got Slipknot, My Chem, Bad Religion, Lamb of God, Kiss of all fucking bands, dude. Kiss, Judas Priest, man. Break at the law. Like, I'm trying to fucking get in on that. You know what I'm saying? So many great tours coming up. Let me know which ones you got tickets for, which ones you want to get tickets for. What's the lamest one I brought up? What's the best one I brought up? Let me know in the comments below. But moving right along, we're going to be getting into some casting news, man. And we got a Bob Marley biopic coming up here within the next maybe year or so between now and 2023. I don't know the actual release date, to be honest with you, but they cast the actor Kingsley Ben Ayer, and I'm not as familiar with his work necessarily, but he does have some resemblance to the late great legend himself, Bob Marley, and I know his family has been pretty strict about doing a biopic on their father and letting Hollywood get their hands on that story because, you know, they just it's just there's almost like a purity to Bob Marley's legacy, you know what I'm saying? And just an overall a message of positivity and inclusivity and really, you know, just that positivity and what his message and what his legacy really means is so important in the world of pop culture, in the world of Rastafari, in the world of Jamaica, and just all over the place. His influence is so strong and important within, you know, just people here on this planet, you know. His family really holds that near and dear to their hearts because they have a lot of love for their father as a lot of, you know, in a whole different way than us fans will never understand because we're not his children, you know? And I'd be very protective of that too. If my parents were legends for doing some great stuff like that in general, I would never want anyone just to get their hands on their story and just to fuck it up and do that kind of crazy shit, you know what I'm saying? And I'm protective of my real life parents right now. So I could only imagine what it would be like to see somebody completely fuck up and conscrew the whole legacy and put out a bunch of false facts and you know, dramatizing the situation in a negative way. I could totally see and understand why they were so hesitant for so long to do it. But it seems like they're making it work somehow. And as long as they got the rights to the music and don't fuck up like that Jimi Hendrix biopic, and the actor can really nail the essence of who Bob Marley is, what he sounded like, and really nail the performance of him on stage and off, this could be something really special. And if they do it right and really get to the truth and the real facts of his story and really display it for all generations from then to now to see, I think this could be a really big deal. And fuck the Oscars and all that. This could just be a really great film in and of its own right. So I definitely am interested in this because everyone that knows me definitely knows I am a huge Bob Marley fan. He is one of my all-time favorite musicians always has been, always will be, and I'm going to be there day one to see the biopic. And I'm crossing my fingers, putting that positivity out there and hoping that they pull it off, because how great would it be to see a great film about a legend like Bob Marley? And hopefully they switch up the formula from standard biopics and really get trippy and different with it and really show his journey as a man, and really from the start of when he got into the Motown era type stuff all the way to where his music went and landed in the 80s, man. So there's a lot of great stuff to come here, and I really hope they put I really hope they put the Whalers on display and really cast them well as cast them well also, because the Whalers are a big reason why Bob's music was so great. You know what I'm saying? And they play a big part in inspiring him to make the music that they made together. And without them, there wouldn't be the music that he made, and without him, there wouldn't be the music that they made. So you got to throw it all together. So I really hope they really cast some great characters to support Ben Kingsley Ayer as Bob Marley in this film, man. And if I can actually talk correctly, that would be great too. But I'm really excited for this, man. I really hope they pull it off. But moving right along, man, into the next thing, Rebel Moon is Zack Snyder's next film that's going to be, where else? None other than Netflix, where he's been building out his Army of the Dead universe. And I'm not exactly the hugest fan of there being an Army of the Dead universe, because Army of the Dead itself was just pretty cool. It wasn't real bad. It wasn't real great. I feel like Zack Snyder has definitely made better films, but I also feel like he's made worse films. So it just lands right in the middle of his filmography. It's a solid, entertaining flick with some really good actors having a lot of fun with the characters and with the world that they're playing in. But overall, I think the film could be a little more generic than you would like it to be, than you would expect it to be. And a lot of people, and myself included, wanted to see a little more of the beginning of the zombie apocalypse in a setting like Las Vegas, because that opens up a myriad of opportunities that they just quickly montage through. So I'm hoping with this next film right here, Rebel Moon, maybe Zack Snyder can capture a little more of that 300, Dawn of the Dead, Batman vs. Superman, because hell yes, I'm a fan of that, and that Watchmen gravitas, and bring it home in this sci-fi epic that originally he pitched over a decade ago at Lucasfilm to be an idea for a Star Wars film or spinoff of some sort. But it never came to be, obviously, as we see now, ever since 2012 till now, when Disney bought Star Wars. It's been in exactly a decade almost, maybe to the month or some shit. Probably not, but it's almost been exactly a decade since Disney purchased Lucasfilm from George Lucas. So that's pretty mind-blowing right there. And getting to see Zack Snyder go into production and casting this new sort of original, actually, sci-fi epic could be something really dope as well, because I understand out there in the, film nerd community, if you will, in the bubble we all live in under the fandom multiverse, Zack Snyder is very, very divisive. And I understand and know that. And even for me, sometimes he can be divisive because I don't love everything that he does. Watchmen, I enjoy, but I don't love it all the way through. 300, I actually do love it all the way through. Batman vs. Superman, I do have issues with it. It's not a perfect film, but I overall really do enjoy it and appreciate it much more than most DC fans, comic book fans, superhero fans, nerds, if you will, because I can see what he's going for and like the epic nature that he's bringing to these DC characters, because they have always been gods among us. And he's literally pulling from that storyline. And just, they've always been gods among men, you know what I'm saying? Like the whole DC vibe has always been that. Where Marvel, you know what I'm saying, has always been more, guys on the ground, guys kind of from more normal circumstances, the everyman, the everywoman, just the normal person that's trying to do right, that might actually have extraordinary abilities. So it's just a different vibe, and I think Zack Snyder totally captured that, but I think he just had some clunky plot points, and I think overall the script was a little lacking in certain points as well. But Zack Snyder's direction overall, especially his extended editions of that, and obviously, to me, his best film, Justice League, I think when you really get to see the full Zack Snyder vision in the DC world, it really comes to fruition very well. And while there might be some missteps on the way, it really comes home on the end. So I'm very excited to see what he's going to do with this here at Netflix, because he's got some very interesting actors cast in this thing, man. Some we all know and love, some we don't. But when it comes to the cast overall, you got Sofia Boutella, who's going to be playing the main character of the film, if I'm not mistaken, which for me is really awesome because I've grown to become quite a big fan of hers over the last several years since Kingsman, where she's been doing her thing in Hollywood, man. So I'm very excited to see what she could do in this sci-fi epic world after doing Star Trek. You know what I'm saying? So I was always hoping to get her in Star Wars, which could still happen, but it's cool to get to see her do something original and epic on a scale like this with Zack Snyder and getting to lead the charge. So I'm definitely all into that. And you got my boy, Jaimin Hansu, who's pretty much like your good luck charm in most movies, man. He's up in this thing, and you guys know he has been all over the world of the nerdy fandom, man. DC, Marvel, Star Wars, you name it. This guy's been in it pretty much, and it is crazy, man. And I'm so excited to see him in this as well. Charlie Hunnam from, Sons of Anarchy fame, Pacific Rim, he's going to be dropping into this thing. Our boy Ray Fisher, the guy that played Cyborg in both the shitty and dope versions of Justice League, he's going to be dropping into this thing. And Jenna Malone, you know what I'm saying? Back from Stepmom. She was even in BVS as well. So you got a lot of returning actors coming into this thing with Zack Snyder. And I'm very excited because he's working with writers that collaborated with him in the past on Watchmen and 300, which are some of his best films, man, with some of the least amount of problems, I would say, compared to some of the others. So I'm very excited to see what they cook up here. And just from the basic synopsis, which doesn't give away a lot, but it's pretty much the story is pretty much set in a distant planet or in a distant colony on some planet in the galaxy that is getting overruled by some tyrant, and they send a mysterious woman with these crazy abilities, perhaps, and a mysterious past, played by Sofia Boutella, to go out and recruit other warriors of note from other planets across the galaxy to take on the tyrant. So you could definitely see the Star Wars, the Dune, the Akira Kurosawa influences that he's mentioned going into this thing. And I'm very excited to see, because I think I did read that there is a sequel greenlit at Netflix already. So it's going to be interesting to see if this goes over well. Is Zack Snyder going to build out this big, huge universe that he has in his mind? We'll see sooner rather than later, hopefully, but I'm pretty excited and interested to see what Zack Snyder can really make again, but fully original, because he's done a lot of adaptations and things of that nature. He has done, I think, some original material possibly throughout his career, but not too much. So I'm very excited for this, man, because when Zack Snyder's on, Zack Snyder is fucking on, and the visuals and the action are always on point. So if his screenwriters and himself can really craft a great story around these actors playing really cool characters, I am so damn excited to see what this is going to turn into, man. But keep on rolling along through what's the word, man. You know what I'm saying? And we got a couple other big topics here, man. A Quiet Place Part 3 and the spinoff. The world of A Quiet Place is expanding even larger than we ever thought back in the day when we saw the first one back in good old 2018, man. Can't believe it has been 4 years already. And just at almost exactly a year after Part 2 dropped in theaters and blew up the box office and blew your boy's mind and was one of my all-time favorite, if not my favorite film of last year, A Quiet Place Part 2, really came through and swung for the fences and did a very, very great job at continuing the world. But now we got announcements that have been made back in 2020, carrying into now with new updates of A Quiet Place Part 3 and the spinoff. So going with the spinoff, since that is dropping first in 2023, is going to be directed by one of the acclaimed recent indie films in the Oscar circuit, if you will, starring Nicolas Cage, called Pig. That director, Michael Samosky, is going to be directing the A Quiet Place spinoff that's dropping next September 2023, man. It was supposed to drop this time next year, but they actually delayed it for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. I know they did switch directors recently, late last year, so maybe they had to push things back and maybe they're rewriting and retooling some stuff, so it's kind of pushing the movie back. But hey, I want them to take their time and make sure they have a really cool idea and really craft this thing the right way, because this world is very rich and has a lot of potential to really become a dope franchise if they don't lose sight of what makes it special in the first place. Because I love A Quiet Place 1 and 2. I think 2 might have even stepped it up even better than the first film. So for me, I'll take whatever you got. Give me all you got. Give me what you got. You know what I'm saying? We're pulling the fucking Pacino from Heat right here. I want that A Quiet Place world to keep on growing, but continue to maintain that quality. Now, I don't want it to go on forever and ever like it's Friday the 13th, but I think we could definitely wrap up the trilogy, maybe do 2 or 3 spinoffs and call it a day. You know what I'm saying? But I would really like them to continue it at least through the trilogy and through this spinoff. And I'm very interested to see what that director is going to bring to this, because this is so different than what that movie Pig was, because that's just some weird movie about some guy and his pig and all this other stuff that I don't really know. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that all goes down. But the one sad part about the A Quiet Place Part 3 update, though, I think in order to wait for Krasinski to be ready and available to do it, and for them to give enough time in between this spinoff and the third film, A Quiet Place Part 3 is going to be dropping in 2025. It's quite a while to wait, and by the time that drops, that would have been 4 years after the second movie, which is a little unorthodox for today in Hollywood, but for back in the day, it was kind of standard. You would kind of have around, 3 to 4 to 5 years in between sequels anyway, a lot more often than you do today. You wouldn't get the every year, bi-yearly thing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of glad they are taking their time to make sure that they really end this trilogy on the right note and really end it with a bang. But I'm just so impatient, man. I really want Part 3. You know what I'm saying? Them damn cliffhanger endings always get you. Spoiler alert. But, man, I just can't wait to fucking see A Quiet Place Part 3. But we got about there's 3.5 years wait. So let's wait and let's hope the spinoff is really awesome and tides A Quiet Place fans over until we get that Part 3, man. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think about the A Quiet Place franchise overall? Do you dig them? Do you hate them? Are you somewhere in between? Did you hit your mic just like I did? I hope not. But are you somewhere in between? Are you excited for the spinoff? Could you care less about the spinoff? Do you want Part 3 right now? Do you care? Do you even want a Part 3? Do you think they're making too many? Are they kind of pushing their luck? You let me know in the comments section below. I want to get into a dope discussion with y'all, discussing all these great topics of what's the word, man. But we ain't done yet. We're just getting. Oh. Woo. All right. Wee. Whoa. We're just getting to the headliner, to the finale. Drum roll, please. Stranger Things Part 4. Stranger Things 4. Announcement. The release date. We finally got it, y'all. We got some really sick new posters that I'm showing y'all on the screen right now, I'm sure. And guess what, y'all? We're getting hella Stranger Things. We're getting 2-part season 4, man. Part 1 is going to be dropping May 27th, which coincidentally is 2 days after motherfucking Kenobi over there on fucking Disney Plus, man. I'm going to be a streaming ass, bro. And that's dropping the same week right there. And then we're going to be getting Stranger Things 4 Part 2 on July 1st, man, right in time for that 4th of July holiday. So we're getting a double dose of Stranger Things, a double dose of Ozark. Even Better Call Saul's getting a 2-part thing for all the Better Call Saul fans. So I just love how we're getting so much 2-part, seasons over the course of the year. But there was also another huge announcement with all the Stranger Things shit, which is a little bittersweet, but I feel is necessary, even though I've enjoyed all three seasons, and I do think they're all worthy of a rewatch, and I do enjoy and love them all in their own way. Season one is the strongest, but it's going to be time to call it a day because the Duffer Brothers did confirm and announce through a written letter that Stranger Things Season 5 is going to be the culmination, the conclusion of the Stranger Things story that we've come to know and love. And maybe some people are more in the middle or hate. You know what I'm saying? Because I do contend and agree with, to a certain degree, that season two is the clunkiest season of Stranger Things overall. And there is some diminishing returns with the Upside Down, and that element of the story I don't think has been consistently fresh all the time through the past two seasons. But with the characters being written so strong and always receiving such great development, and their camaraderie and chemistry together is so undeniable, it's just so hard to really, for me to really hate on the series too much. I can acknowledge some of the shortcomings in season two. Season three to me was damn close to getting as good as season one. That's for damn sure. And I think was an improvement on season two and kind of got back to more of what we love about season one, seeing the group of kids together and getting to see some different pair ups as well, but getting to see everyone kind of culminate and come together at the end, at the finale, at the mall, or at the Russian hideout underneath Starcourt Mall and all that shit. It was really cool to see how it all kind of culminated up to that point. And the big cliffhanger with fucking Hopper and all this other shit, 11 and Will moving to the West Coast. So I see what they're doing here. And I feel like from the posters kind of revealing to us four different groups in the different, teaser trailers and promos that we've gotten in short supply throughout the last year and a half or so, they've been promoting this thing and trying to get this thing made. It looks like it's going to be so expansive and everyone's going to be so spread out that season four, part one is probably going to be everybody split off Empire Strikes Back style, doing their own things. And then season four, part two is probably going to bring the culmination and get everybody together before we end everything off and tie a bow on it, apparently, for season five. But there was some teases in that letter the Duffer Brothers wrote saying that there could be more stories to tell in the world of Stranger Things, where I am a bit hesitant on that. It depends on what the spinoff or what the idea could be, because I don't think everything needs a spinoff. But I do believe from there being comic books and extended lore of other kids, the other numbered kids that have abilities that are out there for the most part in the world that could show up, and some of them being confirmed within that comic book series. I only breezed through a couple issues and read some of the info on the wiki and whatnot, so I'm not caught up on everything Stranger Things comics, but I am aware they did expand the world and show a few more of those kids like we were hoping we would see by this point in the series, which is still highly possible. We still got almost technically 3 seasons to go, so, one big ass season and one continue finale or whatever. So we do got quite a bit of time, probably a good, I'd say maybe 18 to 20 episodes left of this thing, depending on how many episodes there are for these 2.5 seasons or whatever. So I'm just so excited to get back into the world of Stranger Things. And unlike some people out there that have to just, thrive in the negativity, I guess, I am cautiously optimistic as always, because I don't want to get my expectations too high on anything, but I'm hoping that they still bring it on home and season 4 is the best season of all time, or at least is giving season 1 a run for his money, similar to like Cobra Kai did for me recently with season 4 compared to season 1 of that series. So I'm kind of hoping for the same thing there, but if it doesn't do that and it's still a good, entertaining, fun season, I'm happy. I'm good with it. Stranger Things is always going to be one of my favorite things out there. I actually discovered it back in 2016 or 17. I think it was 2017, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that summer when it came out. I saw the commercial for it on YouTube a couple times and got interested in it based on the premise and the vibe of the trailers. I didn't know anything really about it except it was supposed to be Stephen King meets Steven Spielberg with its own flair to it. that's the only thing I heard about in early reviews and seeing a couple trailers. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna watch this thing. I didn't know anyone else that was a fan of the show, but I just got to stumble into the one of the next big great, fandoms and one of the next big great franchises of our time as millennials, you know what I'm saying, and getting to harken back to classic things. And I've always loved classic 80s, lore and 80s pop culture and stuff like that. So it always really rang true for me. And I always loved those adventure, Amblin type films as a kid. And you don't really see those these days, you know what I'm saying, as often. So this really was a big breath of fresh air back in the day when this came out a few years back in the day. Well, a few years ago when this dropped, this really was a breath of fresh air. And I understand people have kind of copied it and it's kind of become a little saturated ever since then. I'm still a big fan of Stranger Things, always will be, even if they don't stick the landing quite as well. I always got the first 3 seasons, which for me are great seasons of television overall. So I love me some Stranger Things. But what about y'all, man? Are you happy that the season 4 is going to be so big and expansive and huge that they got to do 2 parts? Do you hate the idea? Let me know in the comments section below. And are you one of those people that think Stranger Things should have been a one and done, and we shouldn't even be talking about it at this point, past at this time for all these seasons? Or do you believe, like me, that this is season 5, wrapping it up, doing this 2-part huge series to really give everybody their just due, to really give a nice conclusion to the series, could work out and potentially be a really great strategy? Do you think it is? I do, but I want to hear from y'all in the comments, man. And with no further ado, I think it's about time we get into those main topics, man. And we're going to start off with that good old Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Netflix's latest horror flick, another requel, if you will, where we are introduced back into the world of Harlow, Texas, picking up 50-some years after the original 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, you know what I'm saying? Tobe Hooper's, magnum opus, if you will, one of the all-time classics in the genre, one of the most important films of the slasher and horror genre overall. Fede Alvarez and his producing partner came in, wrote the script, and had the original idea and had their hands in crafting this new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, man. And after Texas Chainsaw 3D, there's nowhere to go but up for me because I absolutely hate that film. I know there's some fans out there of it. I don't quite get it, but not a fan of that. Didn't have any interest in Leatherface. I'm not really feeling the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise overall like I used to because I got into it with the '03 remake around '05, '06. That was literally one of the first slasher movies I had watched other than Scream and Friday the 13th. So that was literally one of the first times I had seen something like that. It was one of the first times I ever saw anything Texas Chainsaw related and saw anything with that much brutality and just, viciousness to it, and with the gore and the kills and just the overall intensity of Arlie Erming and all that shit with one of the best, if not the best version of Leatherface of all time in the franchise. I just absolutely adore and love that film and had such a great watching or viewing experience of it the first time I saw it at home after my mom and dad got it for me on DVD at Walmart back in the day, man. And back when I was watching Freddy vs. Jason and, really getting into the horror genre, this was one of my first really big, stepping stones into becoming the horror nerd I am today. And I had a lot of love for the franchise at the time, man. I didn't have any access to the original at the time, and it was a little harder to find on DVD at that point for me, at least being a kid, not knowing exactly where to look. So I didn't watch the original for several years until high school, but I saw Texas Chainsaw at the beginning and liked that, and the rest is history. But once they started kind of going downhill with the rest of it from there, man, I just really lost interest in this franchise overall, as in getting new stuff. So I didn't really have high expectations going into this film per se, but overall, I will admit I had a pretty good time with it, man. This wasn't a complete dumpster fire like I was sort of expecting. This isn't an amazing film by any stretch of the imagination, but it isn't without its faults, but it definitely isn't without its strong points and without some fun to be had, man. And starting off with some of my pros going into this film, man. Carnage Candy, man. He's slicing motherfuckers up for real. A little too much CGI blood, but other than that, man, you get some glorious kills in this fucking thing, man. Like when you see fucking Leatherface break Homeboy's fucking wrist with the fucking bones poking out right here, and then he stabs him in the throat with it several times to death. I'm just like, yo, we just getting started, Leatherface. Calm down. Jeez, nigga. Like, man, he was going ape shit right there, man. And just that bus scene, man, like, that was fucking awesome. Like, that right there is one of the all-time best kill scenes in the 2010s, the 2020s. For sure, that shit was awesome, man. He's slicing people in half, trying to climb out the window, slicing people in half diagonally, and slicing arms and fucking limbs off, flying everywhere, dude. I'm just like, yo, this shit's crazy, man. This is some insane shit right here. I gotta tell you, Fede Alvarez and the team did not disappoint. I forgot the director's name of this thing, man. I'll try to make sure I throw it up on the screen right there. But he did a very great job, directing this thing, shooting those kills, coming up with some very creative shots for some of the kills as well, man, and keeping it fresh in that department, and building a little bit of tension building up some tension in certain scenes as well, pretty effectively. So I definitely enjoyed the Leatherface kill aspect, the really heavy horror aspect you come to for a Texas Chainsaw film. You know what I'm saying? Not nearly as disturbing as other ones, but it's still a pretty damn good time, and the kills are pretty damn effective, minus the CGI that might take you out of it a little bit, depending on how particular and sensitive you are to that type of shit. I always prefer practical effects, like most horror fans do, but hey, it didn't bother me too much here. And another thing I will say too, the whole reason why Leatherface is set off in this film being that lady that was at the orphanage taking care of him after he left the Sawyer house, or whatever the fuck happened in between the first one and this one, where she took care of him and kind of took him in, and he ended up never getting caught or whatever. But them stupid hipster kids coming in, trying to gentrify the area and turn it into their own place when they come to Harlow, Texas or whatever, and got investors and all this other sedity shit. They're over here kicking the lady out of her own home when she had the deed, but they wouldn't listen because they're douchebags, man. And I tell you, that whole setup with her dying and losing breath because she got super excited and started hyperventilating and shit because of the heartbreak she felt with them kicking her out of her own damn home, which she had full rights to be in from Jump Street. Man, that was just such an actually brilliant way for a film in this franchise, especially, to kick off Leatherface and set him off and to reawaken the evil, if you will, of Leatherface on these kids and in anyone in this area of Harlow, Texas, man. So I got to say, that whole setup for the beginning of the film, or towards the beginning of this film, was very effective, dude. I actually really like that. And I will say, not a pro nor a con, but more in the mixed area, the characters to me were just meh. They're not terrible. They're not amazing. I don't love them. I don't hate them. I'm not necessarily rooting for all of them to die, but if they die, I don't mind either, necessarily. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really more in the middle in that department when it comes to the characters and the main sisters in the film. I forget the characters' names, but you know who I'm talking about if you've seen this thing. If you hadn't seen this thing, you've been spoiled by now. And you know from the top of this thing, we're doing full spoiler, reviews of these things, man. So you've been fairly warned before. So if you've stayed up until this point, there's no turning back, man. But yeah, the characters are okay. They're all right. You know what I'm saying? The writing's okay. It's nothing amazing. It's not terrible or bad. You know what I'm saying? But getting into the bad, Sally Hardesty coming back into this film was such a fucking cash grab without really being a cash grab move in a way, but was so stupid. She added nothing to this film. Nothing. It was such a waste of fucking screen time every time they cut to her character. I'm like, why are you pulling a Jamie Lee Curtis out of Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills? Why are you blatantly ripping this off? It felt like they just plugged this into the movie after they got further along in production, were editing it, and thought, hey, let's reshoot that and throw Sally Hardesty in there and try to capitalize on it being a sequel to the original, which to me was fine to erase the past movies that were kind of garbagey anyway, for the most part. But then you're gonna retcon it with that. That's what you're gonna do. It's fucking dumb, man. Sally Hardesty had no place being in this movie. She added nothing to the movie. She ended up getting killed right after she pretty much got involved with the fucking thing. And she's surviving shit, which makes no fucking sense. Homie's holding her in the air with the chainsaw through her entire body like she's a fucking rag doll hanging on top of a fucking buzzsaw. I'm like, dude, what is happening here? How is she alive still to shoot at this motherfucker? And just the whole setup and execution of Sally Hardesty in this film was a complete fucking miss and such a stoops move. I really don't understand it. There's not even that much weight, I feel, with Texas Chainsaw fans with you bringing her back, especially the way you use her. She literally has never appeared in any other film in this franchise. It literally is the dumbest thing ever, man. Like, if you disagree, man, I'd love to hear why in the comment section. You can holla at your boy, but I don't understand why the fuck she's in this movie. It is completely fucking stoops. I don't understand it at all. And another thing I will say that does annoy me with this movie is just, I understand there's going to be dumb characters in slasher films. I'm a Friday the 13th guy. I'm not exactly saying that every character needs to be well written and smart in every slasher movie all the time, but you could give me a few more characters that aren't complete fucking morons, you know what I'm saying? That don't necessarily run at the danger, or at least are more effectively at trying to get away but really can't get away. I just feel like there's a little more nuanced ways to write these chase scenes and to write some of these kill scenes in a way. Like, some of the people on the bus are being really dumb, and I'm like, dude, just get the fuck out the window ASAP. Come on now. That's the first thing that should jump to mind. I just sometimes it's a little, it bothers me a little bit when they have to write characters so stupid just to get the cool moments they want to show you, when I feel there's a slightly smoother and better way to do this while still having the same payoff. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like you have to do too much legwork to get there. So I just feel there are some lazy points in the writing and storytelling overall with this film, in the sense of we don't necessarily have a clear, defined explanation of what Leatherface was doing in between now and then, why he never got caught, you know what I'm saying, and the exact tie-ins to what ties to the original and what from the original still canon, if there's any retcons within that as well. Like, they're kind of vague on these things, with him in the post-credit scene at the end of the film walking back to what is seemingly the new version of the Sawyer house. You know, why is he going back? Why would he go back after all this time? Would anyone even be there? Like, what's the whole setup with that? It was just a bit vague, you know what I'm saying? Not the biggest negative I have with the film. Sally Hardesty obviously is that, but overall, just felt a little clunky and just wasn't fully fleshed out enough to really give you a sense of how this really ties into the original. You know what I'm saying? Other than the fact that they're just telling you that, it doesn't necessarily tie in within the way they're doing the film until they just shoehorn Sally Hardesty into this thing. So overall, that whole requel element was not strong enough here to really counterbalance some of the more fun, kind of goofier, dope kill moments. You know what I'm saying? So overall, this film's okay. It's not great. It's not terrible, or I would teeter on bad, but overall, it's entertaining. It's okay. It's decent. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. It's pretty good, but nothing to really write home about or rush out and stream right away. When you get a chance, if you're into these type of movies, you want something a little entertaining and not too heavy, this is definitely one of the lighter Texas Chainsaw movies comparatively, with content and how disturbing it gets. There's some moments, there's some brutal kills there, but I think most casual horror fans, especially in movie fans, could watch and stomach this movie. I think you just look away a few times, but I think overall you wouldn't be completely shook in your pants and shook in your seat and over here flipping out like Sally in the original film. You know what I'm saying? You'll be all right. But overall, 6.5 out of 10. It's decent, nothing amazing, close to bad, but for me, as the horror fan I am, I do get some entertainment value out of it. It's a pretty damn good version of Leatherface. Definitely far from the worst in the franchise by a long shot. So I'll give credit where credit's due. It's okay. 6.5, man. But rolling into the final topic, the main review, the one I was actually kind of looking forward to the most out of these two, I can't lie to you. Uncharted, man, the latest video game adaptation dropping in theaters recently this past weekend. And I gotta say, man, there was a lot of big hype and expectations on this thing. Uncharted has a pretty damn big fan base. So, and I'm a part of it. I'm more of a casual fan of the games. I'm a newer fan to it. I love these games. They have literally become some of my all-time favorite video games in short order here, and I've only played them within the last few years. But I own every game on PS4 and PS5 and whatnot. I love the Uncharted franchise overall. And I was really excited when they announced they were going to do a film adaptation of it. But once they announced the casting of Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg, I was a little trepidatious on it. Had only seen Tom Holland be Spidey once or twice. Mark Wahlberg definitely didn't fit Sully on the outset, so I was a little less hyped for this movie after that. I was more cautiously optimistic, and even after the trailers didn't do too much for me to get me like uber excited, but I was like, hey, this could be a lot of fun. It might not be the game exactly. It might not be the perfect adaptation, the great Uncharted movie we were hoping we'd get, but overall, I think this is going to be a good time. So the question is, was it a good time? I got to say yes. Uncharted overall as a film was pretty damn good, man. I had a lot of fun with it. I will say right off the top, going into the pros, man, Tom Holland actually nailed Nathan Drake for me for the most part for him being cast in the role. I didn't really think he was going to even feel like Nathan Drake whatsoever. But I will say in moments you can kind of see some of that Nate Drake charm in Tom Holland. He is a very charismatic actor, so that's going to be present regardless, but I think he really does step away from Peter Parker a decent bit in this film, man. And I don't think people are giving him enough credit because he really did work hard and try his best to capture Nathan Drake as a character. He even said so himself, and I do believe him because he don't be half-assing in the movies that he's in. So I think he did a pretty damn good job, man. Like, I don't think he was the perfect Nate Drake. I don't think he was like the dream Nathan Drake that we were all expecting to see, but I really did enjoy him in the film overall as Nathan Drake, and I went along for the ride and was accepting of him for sure. And I believe her name is Sophia Ali. I hope I'm not mistaken there. Cast and playing Chloe Frazer in this film, while on the outside looking in, it seemed a little weird that they were shoehorning her into this film, into Nate Drake's origin story when they hadn't met each other at that age. You know what I mean? But I thought that she absolutely nailed Chloe. I thought she captured that character perfectly, nailed the accent and everything. I'm not sure if that's actually her accent or not, but I thought she was incredible in the film. I really liked her a lot. The whole double cross towards the middle of the film and towards the end there, I thought was perfectly played by her and Tom Holland alike. I really love their chemistry together. You really could buy that they have feelings for each other and at the same time could work well together and could hold their own in this, treasure hunter, adventurer type vibe. You know what I'm saying? And the whole physicality with her in the film, I thought she played very well. Also, likewise with Tom Holland, of course, we've all seen the stuff he's done with the John Watts Spider-Man trilogy, if you will, capping off with No Way Home, where I thought he stepped up his physicality even more. I think he stepped it up just as much with this film, pretty much, man. There were some very dope action scenes overall. Ruben Fleischer, the director of Zombieland fame, really came through here and shined in his direction in doing some of these action scenes and some of these fighting scenes. They were always very fun, brisk, and at times a little unexpected from how you thought they were going to play out. So I had a lot of fun with the action in this movie, especially, man, and was very well done. And the scenes that they pull out of the games, while it is a little bit of a mishmash, which I'll get into a little bit into the negative section as well, some of those elements being brought in here were executed very effectively, dude. Like, some of the awe and wonder of seeing those ships and getting to the gold of the Magellan treasure from A Thief's End in Uncharted 4 was well done and was some of the best action adventure treasure hunting elements of the film. Like, that whole scene of from pulled straight from Uncharted 4 at the beginning of the film. And as you see in the trailers there, of him hanging off the crates and fighting the guys and trying to jump from crate to crate to get back on after he hit the cargo drop button on there to save his ass from getting shot up and beat up by those damn mercs or whatever. That was such a well done scene, man. And the whole pirate ship thing, which was jumping the ship quite a bit, was very fucking cool, man. I can't take away from it. And the CG mixed with the practical effects here really played out well. And Tom Holland doing his own stunts, you could really tell he's putting in the work, and it really shows through and really adds to that physicality of Nathan Drake. Because as you fellow video game nerds and fans of Uncharted know, it is a physical game, and Nathan Drake be getting thrown through the ringer, and everyone else around him, it would be a very physically taxing thing to pull off one of these heists and one of these adventures. So I really love those elements in this film, man, and the action overall was well done. The physicality and the fight scenes I thought were well done. You got to keep enough of the action in frame long enough where you didn't have too many jump cuts on some underworld Resident Evil type bullshit. You got to see all the action here. None of that Paul Greengrass type stuff. You got to see all the action in frame. It's not John Wick level. It's not Shang-Chi level or anything like that. Bruce Lee isn't over here nodding in approval, but it's a pretty damn good stuff. It's good action scene, and I think the actors bring their physicality overall in a really great way. And I can't remember the actress's name off the top of my head, but the one that plays the character of Joe in here, that I will get into a little bit more in the negatives as well. Her acting and physicality was very well done, and her being the best fighter in the film does play out and make sense because the actress does actually have martial art experience, unlike most of the other actors in the film, other than Mark Wahlberg doing other movies and Tom Holland maybe getting a bit. She had some of the most experience in the film, and it really shone through with her character of Joe. So I really liked her overall in the film, really liked her presence in it, really thought she came through in the performance department. But I do have a issue with the writing of the character in a way that I'll get into in a bit. But overall, man, I had a lot of fun with this movie, man. The music was well done, and I love the way they incorporated the original themes from the game and everything like that. All that was so well done and well placed where if you didn't know it, it wouldn't be something that's like too much fan service, but at the same time, it's that appropriate fan service that they throw in there. That's really awesome. And getting to see Nolan North have a cameo is that Stan Lee energy for Uncharted in the PlayStation world that you want. And getting to see the original Nathan Drake voice actor be in the world of live action Uncharted and a part of it in the games only feels right. You know what I'm saying? So overall, it's a fun film. It's not perfect. And getting into some of those mixed and negative elements, I did feel I don't understand why Joe was not Nadine. Why is she not Nadine? Why? I don't get it. She would have been a kick-ass Nadine, even if they killed her off like they did at the end of the film, which did bum me out a little bit, but I understood why. I think she would have been an awesome Nadine, and they should have kept her on going in the franchise. And since he didn't see a body, it's totally possible. It is movies after all. This is based on a video game. We're not doing Shakespeare here, so anything is definitely possible, but I don't understand why she wasn't Nadine. Out of all the stuff you took from the fucking games, why didn't you use that? Why is that the one character you didn't fucking use? You use Sam, but you don't use Nadine. That, to me, makes literally zero sense. She's literally a bigger character in the Uncharted franchise than Sam is. And I'm not saying she's more important to Nathan Drake as a character. I get what they're going for. I understand it's an adaptation, but you really missed the boat on that, man. And Mark Wahlberg is still miscast as Sully. He hits some of those Sully, isms at times. He is fun in the movie. I like his energy a lot. He has very good chemistry with Tom Holland overall, but it's a mixed element because he doesn't feel truly and genuinely and thoroughly like he just transformed into that character. Tom Holland, you can tell, is really trying and really putting that best foot forward and really is trying to be Nathan Drake. And at times, I think for the most part, he's nailing it. And at times, maybe not. It does feel a little Peter Parker at moments. But I think for the most part, he nails most of what he's going for. Where Mark Wahlberg, to me, very seldom does he really feel like the Sully we know and have come to love from those 4 Uncharted games. So I do think that's more of a mixed element. He's not all bad, but I just don't think he necessarily was the right actor for this role. I just don't think he had the right look and he wasn't the right age for it, you know? But I could be wrong because he could be a little older than he looks. I don't know. But overall, he's still enjoyable in the film, which is why he's in the mixed here. But overall, didn't love him in it, didn't hate him in it. He's cool. He's fun to see with Tom Holland. I like how he has the stash at the end with the post-credit scene, setting up the sequel, which I'm hoping we get. Hopefully we improve upon what we built here, but, just isn't the best Sully in the world. You know what I'm saying? And one of my other mixed elements as well, Sam being in the film, I liked the actor that played him. He was cool. He was fine. I liked the story that they were telling with, Nathan Drake missing his brother going missing because he runs away because he doesn't want to get arrested after getting his third strike for trying to, come up on shit and whatnot, and getting mixed up into a crazy adventure with Sully down the line because he has all that information about that map and that whole treasure thing and all that stuff. So they probably came into contact somehow at some point. And that whole reason of that being the whole thing of how Sully knows who Nathan is and going out to seek Nathan out and try to recruit him for this mission and kind of use him in a way, I thought was just kind of a bit of a clunky way to try to tie all of this stuff together from the game. Whereas Nathan Drake was on the streets and just was trying to come up on Sully, and that's how they met, was just kind of like circumstance, was just kind of like a coincidence based on the circumstances they're in. I think made a lot more sense. I think the whole Uncharted 4 scene that they did with Mark Wahlberg pulling that heist, I think you easily could have did the whole bartender plot line that they had with Nathan Drake in this film. Have him be a bartender at this event. You could tie in Antonio Banderas to all that. Sully's there. Then he doesn't know Nathan Drake necessarily. You could have cut the whole brother thing out of this film other than him just mentioning he has a brother and they met at one point. You could have had the opening scene that they showed, that 15 years earlier thing. That was fine to get people that aren't as familiar with this character a little more acquainted with Nathan Drake, understand what drives him, understand where he's coming from, understand some background on the character before you get that more, snarky, more cynical version of him when he gets older. You know what I'm saying? So I thought there was ways to work that in, and I think Sully could have easily just been at that event, pulling a heist. He gets in on it. They get sucked into an adventure, and that's the way that he's into it. It just feels more organic to them just being around the same place at the same time because they have the same interest and knowledge base. Makes a little more sense to me than the way that they played it out. And I think his whole brother supposedly being dead and not actually ended up being dead, I did see coming from a mile away. Because I know for a fact that Sam is important enough of a character in the films for them to not just kill him off right away. You know what I'm saying? So that I did expect, but at the same time, I was a little annoyed of how they were trying to play that out. I was just like, I just don't think Sam's that needs to be that integral here. You know what I'm saying? I think you're over relying on that relationship when it's not necessarily the main crux of what the Uncharted franchise has presented and is about. You know what I'm saying? So I just think they kind of missed the mark there and were kind of trying too hard in that regard. You know what I'm saying? But some of my few negatives with this film, though, other than the whole Sam plot point kind of dragging it down as well, and me not liking 90% of it. I don't necessarily love how they mix mash all these different plot points and like sequences from the other Uncharted games and characters and whatnot. I don't mind Chloe kind of popping into this thing. I actually think her being a little bit more of a more important supporting character and getting more development in the Uncharted universe in film version, I think was a smart move. But I do feel Sam, that was just unnecessary, and mixing in all these different things from Uncharted 4 and 2 and 3 and a little dash of 1 and the flashbacks from 4. I just think putting all this weird shit together just doesn't necessarily mesh well together all the time for people like myself that are Uncharted fans and know the lore and love the story and the way that the game is so cinematic in and of itself. You really didn't need to try to switch up the formula too much. You know what I'm saying? You really could have did the origin story thing with the same plot from Uncharted 1. Sully could have recruited him in. That's their first thing. You could have brought Elena into this mix. You could have did a lot of different stuff from that first game and tying in some of these elements from 2 And then you can go off and do 2, 3, and 4 in the more traditional sense and just change up the plot and the settings where you will and what makes sense. I just think they really missed out on truly capturing what is special about the characters, the world, and the story of Uncharted. You know what I'm saying? They didn't completely miss the mark, but I just thought with some of the casting and some of the story choices, I just think that they could have done better overall and really stepped with the best foot forward, where I feel like they may have taken a step forward and a step back at the same time in a certain sense. It's still an enjoyable, well done video game movie, especially. And in the world of that, it's definitely in the top 5 for me of video game movies all time, maybe even top 3. And I would say this is one of the best adventure films in a while it's still somewhat formulaic as well and not necessarily reinventing the wheel. Everything doesn't need to do that. As long as it's entertaining and well told and executed and what you're trying to go for the most part, I'm cool with it. Oh yeah, one quick negative right quick before I wrap it up and give my score and whatnot. I do think they kind of wasted Antonio Banderas as well. Antonio Banderas is one of the best actors of the last couple generations. He's one of the best actors all time, I think, when he's in the right thing. You know what I'm saying? I think he can be a really great performer. And I think he plays a very good villain as well when it's written properly. You know what I mean? I love him in Desperado and Zorro and things like that. So I do feel that they really wasted that opportunity to use him as a character and make him a little more central to what was going on. You could have took him out in a similar way, but I think he could have stuck around in the movie longer, and we could have had that double cross with him and Joe much later in the actual third act. I think would have made a lot more sense, like when they found the gold or something like that. It just felt kind of weird and clunky in the placement of what they did it. I got her motivation because of the fact that he hired Chloe as well at the same time and didn't tell her and all this other stuff. I do get why she felt betrayed and felt the need to do it, but it just felt like a little too much double crossing was going on in the film a little too often, and they felt like they were trying to swerve you too hard and trying to be a little too clever for their own good. But overall, this is a very solid, fun flick, and I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Uncharted is a lot of fun, especially for you adventure or action-adventure fans out there that just want to have a fun, entertaining flick in the vein of a la The Mummy and Indiana Jones. This would be right up your alley. If you're a big Uncharted fan, I would say temper your expectations and try to separate yourself from the game as much as humanly possible and acknowledge what works and what doesn't work in and of itself as a film. But I think if you're an Uncharted fan, you probably won't love it, but I guarantee you'll at least enjoy it and have some fun with it for the most part. But hey, I could be wrong, man. Everyone's opinions are different, and we all watch movies differently and come to them for different things. So I want to hear from y'all. What did you think about Uncharted? Please drop your thoughts and, critiques, pros, cons, all that stuff. And if you want to see the sequel like I do, what do you hope to see? Do you want to see the story of Uncharted 2 done, or do you want to see the actual story of Uncharted 1 done as the sequel? You let me know what you want to see in the comments below, and I would love to discuss that with y'all, man. It's always so fun connecting with you guys out there and getting into some fun conversations. And overall, guys, thank you for tuning in to this latest episode of the Fandom Frequency Show. It's episode 7, baby, and we're going to keep this ball rolling, man. Me and my boy Drew, we got another anime-heavy episode coming up, but we're going to be covering some other topics as well. So not just another anime edition, but, we're going to have to hit that anime when Drew's around. You know what I mean? He's the anime sensei around these parts. And we got a lot of great content that's going to be coming, guys. We got some Multiverse of Madness content coming. You just saw the latest and greatest Fandom Frequency Show episode. Episode 6 just went up. We talked about Peacemaker and Boba Fett. It was a lot of fun. One we might have loved a lot more than the other. You have to tune in for yourself and find out which one it is, man. But thank you for tuning in and checking out the show, guys. Much love to you out there. Make sure you stay safe. And until next time, guys, peace.